New tonight, a mother desperate for help took her teenage son to the emergency room one night last December to seek emergency mental health treatment.
Instead of getting the help he needed, the boy was violently assaulted, first by hospital security guards and then by a Lincoln County Sheriff's deputy. And it was all caught on tape. WBTV's chief investigative reporter Nick Oxner has the story.
It's traumatized him. It's traumatized me.
Jessica Long is watching video of the night she took her son to the emergency room at Atrium Health Lincolnton. She was worried he was having a mental health emergency. Her 16-year-old son didn't want to be there. He was angry, so she asked for security to help get him inside. This is what happened instead.
At no point did they tell him to put his hands behind his back, to stand still. They never tried to de-escalate the situation. They just immediately went for full-blown physical force. The guard shoves him again hard enough that my son came out of his shoes. I jumped in the middle because the guard was getting ready to tase him, and I was telling him, no, don't tase him. I don't know what's wrong.
While the first guard has his taser drawn, a second guard arrives. The taser's put away and Long headed for her car. She wanted her son to stay and get treatment, but she didn't think this would happen next.
As soon as I turned my back, the second security guard grabbed him around his neck in a chokehold and slammed him down on the ground. He was immediately bleeding.
As all this is happening, what's going through your mind in the middle of it?
I was in shock. I didn't know what to do.
Her son was on the ground, blood from his mouth pooling on the concrete. Drive stunned twice with a taser.
Did Atrium staff act appropriately in that incident?
Based on the events and you saw in the video, I would say they did the best that they could under the circumstances.
Maureen Swick is the executive over security at Atrium Health. She defended the security guard's actions, including tackling the boy from behind.
The officer at the time did what he needed to do to keep the young man from getting to the car.
He's not in the vehicle. His mother's standing right there. There doesn't appear to be any warning that he's going to jump on top of him. Again, is that appropriate and within the training guidelines for Atrium security officers?
Well, I think when we talk to our security officers, certainly there's always opportunities where we can do a better job and prevent an incident like this from happening again, and that's something that we intend to do.
But the violence didn't end there. After the two guards sat on top of the boy for at least 5 minutes, 4 Lincoln County Sheriff's deputies arrive on scene, tell the guards to get off the boy, and then pick him up. The boy, whose mouth had been pooling with blood, restrained on the ground, spits. Then a deputy punches him twice in the face while the boy's hands are cuffed behind his back.
Your deputy punched a 16-year-old with his hands handcuffed behind his back twice. Is that an appropriate use of force?
All I saw was once, and he was pushing him back away.
When you watch the video, you don't think your deputy punched the child in the face twice?
No, he did not punch him in the face.
Lincoln County Sheriff Bill Beam defended his deputy's actions, even behavior like this, where the deputy was so worked up, the video shows, he got in Jessica Long's face and had to be taken to the ground by a fellow deputy.
He did not tackle him. One went in between the two, and another reached and grabbed him by the vest and just pulled him right around the corner.
Well, they'd end up on the ground.
No.
If I'm a worried mother, and I'm worried about my child who has mental illness, should I be afraid to take my child to the ER at Atrium Health in the future?
Absolutely not. This was one incident. We have over 14 million patient encounters a year, and incidents like this rarely happen. And the actions that the officers took to keep others safe and to keep him safe were appropriate.
The people that I thought were going to help, they did nothing but make it worse. They created a situation that should have never happened.
If you can't go to the hospital, where can you go?
Nowhere. I won't do it again.
Did the system fail your son?
Absolutely.
Now, the boy was arrested and charged with multiple misdemeanors and felony assault on a police officer. He was held in juvenile detention for 8 days before being let out by a judge. The charges are still pending as the sheriff's office, including the deputy that punched the boy in the face, insists that felony charge stick. Jamie, Maureen?
A felony against the young man.
Yes.
Did Atrium staff follow its policies and protocols?
Well, Jamie, that's a really good question. We put that question to the executive from Atrium. You saw in that piece. We'll have more of that answer tonight at 7:30 and On Your Side Tonight.
Just one jaw-dropping moment after another in that report. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Nick. We'll see you at 7:30.
And tonight, new developments in a local story making national headlines. And by now, you've probably seen this video. A 16-year-old boy getting tackled from behind by a security guard at the Atrium ER in Lincolnton. That was before he was stunned with a taser twice, and before a sheriff's deputy punched him in the face while his hands were cuffed behind his back. WBTV was first to uncover this video in an investigation last week, and since then, it's gotten tens of thousands of clicks online and multiple national networks coming to town to cover the story. But yet there's still a 16-year-old boy at the center of it all, and we don't want to forget him. His name is Hayden Long. He was in court today because he was charged with crimes after being violently assaulted. WBTV's chief investigative reporter, Nick Oxner, originally broke this story. He has the full story of what happened in court today, all new for you at 11.
Hayden Long spoke softly but directly in court Monday, answering a list of questions from a judge as he entered a guilty plea to 2 misdemeanor charges: simple assault and consumption of alcohol by a minor. The charges stem from this violent encounter between Long and security guards and a sheriff's deputy outside of the Atrium ER in Lincolnton in December.
I was really nervous today. I still don't feel great about it. I don't like that Hayden was put in that position.
Jessica Long is Hayden's mom. She brought her son to the ER that night, fearing he was having a mental health emergency. He takes medication for depression.
I needed medical treatment, and we didn't get it, and now it's out there for everybody. And it's a shame that I was backed into a corner where I had to do that.
Do you think any of this had to happen?
No, it didn't. There shouldn't have ever been criminal charges to begin with. I'm honestly angry that I felt like I had to turn to the media to begin with. I have just put my child's information out there for everyone.
Long pleaded guilty to assaulting then Deputy Justin Polson, seen here punching Long in the face. Polson left the sheriff's office Saturday, but stood in court Monday and said he didn't think Long was having a mental health emergency at all. Long's attorney, Brad Smith, said had Long not taken the plea deal, District Attorney Mike Miller was going to charge him with felony assault as an adult.
Were you surprised that the district attorney was so aggressively pursuing the felony charge?
I was.
So far, no indication Miller will investigate the force used by Polson or the hospital guards.
Maybe a law enforcement agency will look into the actions of the other folks that were involved in this incident.
We never got to say exactly what happened and exactly why we were at the hospital.
Do you think the justice system serves you and your family?
Not at all. I really don't.
The elected district attorney in Lincoln County, Mike Miller, sat in the back of the courtroom for today's hearing and left before court adjourned. We spent 2 hours sitting outside the courthouse waiting for him to come out so we could ask him questions, but never saw him leave. Molly?